You can either take the red pill. You'll wake up. Everything was a dream. Or you can take the black pill. You can get torched.
Well, I suppose getting torched won't hurt that much. I don't feel anything.
Wait for it.
Oh, wait. I just got a new client. Get torched! Get torched! Get torched!
I'm Wayne Carey, and this is The Truth Hurts.
Well, we're back again for another episode of The Truth Hurts. Duck, some different surrounds. Talk us through what's been going on. What are we doing here?
What are we doing? We're actually in Carlton for all those, and that's why the studio is a little bit different. We wanted to get amongst the crowd, get amongst the people. And right now, take Collingwood aside, because we know that they've been, playing finals for a long time, but the Blues got in. They've won their first two finals. They're about to go into a prelim. So I got here last night. I went to the University Cafe last night, 257 Lygon Street, literally around the corner from where we are now. And, oh, boy, the reason why, because I knew that it would be bubbling down here, I've gone all the way. No, I'm only joking. You're the only.
You've been walking the streets and talking to the people. Is that what you're saying?
I probably should have done a street talk. It would have gone very well. So, no, I had some penne matriciana last night from the boys at the University Cafe, John and Paul. Absolutely delicious. And then I said to the boys, Brandon and Ben, I said, let's set up tomorrow in Lygon Street. And I'll go and walk the streets just to get that feel. And by the way, the sign wasn't working until about 5 minutes ago. So it was a big kerfuffle. But isn't it fantastic that Carlton are in the finals and the excitement that they've caused? I had some people go to the footy the other night. I didn't go to the game, but obviously watched it. And they said they've never heard a crowd louder than when the Blues won that game. They said it and they're talking Collingwood, or Essendon, all the big teams, just that roar when they won, they said was incredible.
I can believe that. It was a crazy, crazy finish, that final minute against Melbourne. What I do wonder, though, when you're walking these streets is how popular you are, given that you wrote the Blues off about 10 weeks ago.
Oh, it's funny you say that, because they a lot of people listen to the podcast and have been listening, and they know what I said. I picked them for the 8. I had them in the top 4. Guess where they are? Top 4. So I'm right, but I was wrong. To write them off as I did was completely wrong. In a prelim against Brisbane in Brisbane.
Can they win it? Can they win that game now, or have they?
No, of course they can win it. Of course they get Martin back, who missed the 1 week. The big question mark over this game is Harry McKay. Do they bring Harry McKay back in after getting knocked out by a feather, right? Do they bring him back in? Because let's be honest, if he gets touched again, if he just gets a little knock early in the game and he goes off, their form without him has been better. He was out of form when he came back in for the 3 weeks. He kicked the 1 goal in 3 weeks. I know that because I had him in 2 multis. And I just don't see De Koning is just starting to find his feet and have an important role. So for me, I'm not bringing in a player that is not confident going into a preliminary final. That's just me. It's going to be fascinating. Martin definitely comes back in, X factor. But for me, I'm leaving Harry McKay out.
The counter argument will be around Charlie Curnow, and I tend to agree at times that Harry's been a little bit frustrating, but it felt like Charlie was pretty, like he played his role. He brought the ball to ground, but he was more well held maybe than if he had the support act alongside him. Would that be fair?
Their form line was way better without Harry. No, don't get me wrong. For all those people that go, well, Harry, he's a Coleman medalist. He's a very good player when he is confident. Unfortunately, he is not confident right now. Now, he's been knocked out by a feather, right? So he's got concussion. Sorry, not knocked out. He got concussion like through a very, very sort of softish hit, which means he's got something going on. Now, imagine if he gets a softish hit at the start of this game. You just can't take that risk with him, I don't think. Now, if he's in super form, then of course you're excused for doing it. Neither for me. It's too big a risk both ways. Form and I guess the chance of him not getting through the whole game.
So in terms of his impact on Charlie and what it means for Charlie and taking away a defender from him, you're not worried about that in the way the Blues are setting up in their forward line? No. You think De Koning did?
I think the speed, De Koning, good enough job for me, and the speed of which then they put more pressure on. Anyway, fascinating watch. I'm sure that these are all the questions that everyone's asking. I know a lot of the Blues walking the streets here this morning. That's what everyone's asking me, and they're not saying, "Oh, you got it wrong through this or that." They're all over me like a cheap suit. You know all about cheap suits.
Carlton has some other concerns, and it feels like they're going to deal with them because they have been dealing with them. Blake Acres has got a collarbone issue. Sam Doherty dislocated his shoulder. Injuries and finals, and where do you sit on that? Because it's the time of year you take more risks.
Well, you've just got to know, the medical staff and the coaching staff are the only ones that know what makes up each individual. And what I mean by that, and we've spoken about this over the years, and that is some players can play with injury, some players can't. Now, there might be a player that they don't know yet because they haven't been tested in that area. So the club knows better than us. So, for instance, on the weekend, so we'll get back to the Blues. So there's a bit going on. But on the weekend, we had a team, Port Adelaide, Ken Hinkley out in straight sets. And a few players came back in, Dixon and a few others came back in that weren't 100% fit. It didn't work out for them. They lose. I thought Ken Hinkley handled himself really well in the press conference. They were never really a chance. In saying that, if they kicked straight, they gave themselves a little bit of a sniff. But GWS were unbelievably good. Unbelievably good. So they took the risk on those players, and Ken Hinkley made a very good point. And he said, if we hadn't have played those players, we would have got beaten by a hell of a lot more. So they were a better option, even though they were not 100% fit than the other choices that they had to go to. So they went in, they limped into that. On the flip side, GWS, if they play like that, they can beat anyone.
Yeah, they've been super impressive, haven't they?
What a turnaround. Yeah. I just love the way they play their footy. They looked far quicker than Port Adelaide, who are not slow, and made their quick players look slow. It was like they had 4 or 5 extra players on the ground. I was blown away by that game. I didn't watch them as closely the week before against St Kilda, but ultra impressed with how they went about it. Obviously, Hogan on fire. Toby Greene, the captain, got him off to a great start. Cornelio,
he's back at the form that he had 3 years ago when he was one of the best players in the comp, hasn't he? He's been huge.
I mean, they are. Their defence is just incredibly strong. They've got all the attributes and their speed and the way they move the footy. It's going to be a cracking game. While we're on that, I've got to admit I might have got something else wrong this year. So
Not another
this
thing.
might be
Another thing.
This might be a first. Me admitting I'm wrong 2 or 3 times in a year. And that is, I think Kingsley is the coach of the year now.
Oh, you're with me now. You're with me now.
You didn't say that.
I did say that.
You did not.
Oh. You haven't given me credit for it.
Kingsley is the coach of the year. Ross is on the podium. I went a little bit early. So, they never look like playing finals footy. And to get on the run that they have and to be in a preliminary final and a big chance to win that preliminary final, unbelievable effort. So Kingsley, coach of the year, for all of those people that are saying, oh, what if McRae? Well, people expected Collingwood to be there. People expected Carlton to be there. So for all those people that said, well, what if Voss? I had Carlton at the start of the year in my top 4. So the expectations are where they are for a lot of us. Right? Now, some others mightn't have had them there. I did on the back of the list that they had and the improvement that they had over the last 3 or 4 years. So no to Voss, yes to Kingsley. Fascinating stuff.
Now, you touched on Port Adelaide. Melbourne also went out in straight sets. I want to talk about both of those teams because they've made decisions on their coaches. And I know Simon Goodwin's a mate of yours and you're probably going to defend him. Are you comfortable with Port Adelaide's decision to sign Ken when they did?
I'm not going to
months ago.
I'm not going to defend him because I don't need defending. If you get yourself in to the finals and give yourself a crack at a preliminary final, now I think that both teams have fallen short. I think they both should be in prelims. Obviously, they finished in the top 4, so they'll be disappointed. Both have reasons, and some of those reasons about being healthy. I don't think either side was all that healthy. Would you agree? Gorn went in with an injury. Obviously, had some other key players out. Their movement into their forward line, clearly a weakness. Could have won both games. I think they played better than Collingwood the week before, and I think they could have won that game on the weekend. No doubt about that. But at the end of the day, they didn't. So they've got something to work on. And what they've got to work on is that connection, going inside forward 50 and then converting. So they've got to find themselves. Imagine if they had Jesse Hogan.
Yeah, there's a few mates suggested that during the game too. I mean, obviously there was reasons that Jesse left Melbourne. Their forward line, obviously, Van Rooyen was suspended. Harrison Petty, who's played a role at times, he was injured.
McDonald couldn't
get going
into the game.
Do they have
Ben Brown? Where's Ben Brown gone? Back to Tassie.
I don't think they rate him anymore, to be honest. I think they think he's just about done. But should they be braver with the football, Melbourne? They're known as a defence-first team, and they set up from the back really, really well. But can they be braver with their ball movement?
Well, you say that, but they gave themselves – look at the opportunities that they've given themselves. The simple facts, they just haven't converted correctly. So for all those people that talk about their movement and they could be braver, and just like you did then, and you might be right, there's an element of that, which then gives them a better look and they can use it a bit better. But at the end of the day, they have given themselves enough shots on goal to win the games that they've lost. Unfortunately, all year, they've lost games because of that, and then it's come to their two finals and they've done the same thing. Ken Hinkley was right in his press conference, saying that 13-week period where they were in super form, they haven't been anywhere near that for about 7 weeks. And once again, that came back to bite them on the weekend. They've got a young midfield that got, I think, beaten really, really, really well by GWS. And as I said, they were just out-hunted by GWS, Port Adelaide. So they've got some work to do. But I don't disagree that they shouldn't have signed Ken Hinkley just because they lose that final.
No, I guess the question mark around Ken has been that Port Adelaide's been in this position many times now, and they probably haven't delivered on some of the talent or the expectation that they've had when you've got a guy who's been coached for 11 years and hasn't made a grand final. So I guess that'll be the talking point in South Australia anyway.
So we've got our grand final. We've got our preliminary finals now,
yep.
Right? So we've got that. We've spoken a little bit about the teams that are in the prelims and those who have lost, and we'll get back to it. But I do want to touch on a man that I said 5 years ago, might be longer ago, right? The great Ron Barassi, who passed away a couple of days ago, who I think is the biggest name in our game. Well, certainly in my point of view, he is. And I know a lot of other people feel the same. And I actually said 5 years ago, and his family reached out to me and said, thank you very much for bringing this up. But the Premiership Cup should be named the Ron Barassi Cup. I don't know you remember. You might have even helped me write the article.
Maybe. I do remember you saying it again about a month ago. I've read with interest some others have jumped on. When we were talking about this pre-show, you said, why don't you pump me up? And you've just gone and pumped yourself up.
Well, sometimes if you're a bit slow on the take, I'll actually take it up myself.
I was going to get there, but you were that keen to get it out.
I do love when other people then come out and say, well, it should be. Don't get me wrong, I don't care. The more people that come out and say that it should be the Ron Barassi Cup, the better. So, condolences to Ron Barassi's family and everyone concerned, because he really is just, you look at his, whenever you saw Ron Barassi, you stood in awe. He had presence like few have. And what he did in the game, six premierships as a player. He was captain of the Melbourne Footy Club. He went to Carlton, won 2 flags there, came to North Melbourne, won their inaugural premiership in 1975, took them to multiple grand finals, ultimately 2 winning ones. So, just what a legend. And then went up to Sydney when they needed some relevance up there. So, took the job up there for that reason alone, for the AFL. Just an unbelievable person, a very humble person.
Yeah. So what was it? What was Ron like? Because you would have met him, I'm sure, a number of times. So
Oh yeah, he did. He had this scariness about him as well. And when you see all that vision of when he coached Carlton and North Melbourne,
there would have been a fear factor with him. Absolutely.
Well, the players were petrified. Like some of the things he said to players, I heard Sam Kekovich on the weekend saying if work safe for Victoria around when Barassi was giving them a spray, you would he might be in a little bit of trouble these days. But
Maybe had the flares he wore in that grand final, and
have a look. He was just a smart, good-looking man. You know, like I said, had the fear factor, had charisma, but was humble and all in one. So when he was away from that cauldron of coaching and playing, he was just a different person in terms of the way he presented. But I look at him as the Godfather. Now Lee Matthews is the era after Ron Barassi, but I look at Ron Barassi and I just remember he coached guys like Malcolm Blight, Dennis Pagan, who went on to be premiership coaches. He then and there's others, and then then off the back of those guys, you've got guys like Clarkson, Simpson, Longmire. Then off the back of that, you guys like Hardwick. The list just goes on and on and on and on and on and on. And Ron Barassi was, I guess, like I said, the grandfather of all of those coaches. If you look through the history, he's just a legend. And I think that honour should be bestowed upon him. I really do.
Yep, I think that's absolutely fair.
It'd be remiss of us not to mention Cowboy Neale as well.
Yes,
who was a legend of the St Kilda Footy Club, and kicked 5 goals in that grand final, the only grand final St Kilda have ever won. And he was a massive part of that, and just a massive personality,
big character,
big
great
character.
Great storyteller.
Yeah, huge. And I didn't know Cowboy as well, but I just get the feeling you'd walk a little bit taller if you're out on the field with Cowboy Neale. And yeah, I agree. So condolences to Cowboy's family as well. But 2 massive icons of our game passing away within a day of one another. It's very sad.
Before we move on from football, I want to ask you about Collingwood. So we touched briefly on the other clubs that are in the finals race there. Collingwood's got some decisions to make. Nick Dacos.
Well, that's not a decision.
Okay, so he's in.
Oh, well, it's not a puzzle.
Well, yes, he's a good player. What I saw at training was not unbelievable. Okay, next question. Taylor Adams.
Did you go and watch him live?
No, I saw the vision.
Oh, yeah.
I saw the vision.
Yeah.
Taylor Adams. Collingwood
believe none of what you hear and half of what you see.
Now, come on. You don't need to be that cynical about the news, Wayne. Taylor Adams has done a hamstring. They haven't ruled him out of the grand final. You can't play him in a granny, though, if they make it. It would be 10 days.
Well, it just depends on what the scan says. And once again, his history. You know who he ran into, if you're to believe the vision? He ran into John Noble at training.
Oh, you reckon John Noble's...
Well, they ran into one another. That's how he did his hammy.
Maybe John...
I don't think he deliberately tried to do it, by the way. I'm just saying that was the... that looked like when he heard it. And so it was from a collision. So he wasn't running, I don't think, at top pace when he did it. And he wasn't, kicking the footy. So for me, it might be on the real lower end, which is why I think he still could be a chance if they were to get through to the grand final. And that's a big if now. GWS are hardened. Collingwood have played 1 game now in 3 weeks, remember? And GWS would be feeling chock-a-block, full of confidence.
Collingwood would have much preferred to play Port Adelaide, I reckon. Like GWS now is just about the form team of the entire comp.
You know what they're doing? They're doing a Bulldogs.
Yeah.
They're doing a 2016 Bulldogs. They are flying. They have players that are just running on top of and players, Bedford and these guys that are playing career best footy, just like the Bulldogs had in 16. Never saw it again from some of those Bulldogs, but GWS are the informed team for me.
So this will go live before the games in the weekend. Our listeners won't have another chance to hear from you. Who do you think is going to win these 2 preliminary finals then?
I think Brisbane, in Brisbane, 5:15 game. And, gee, if it had been a little bit earlier, it would have gone to their advantage even more.
What, in the daytime, you mean? The warm?
Yeah, they would want it. I think they would want it probably more in the daytime. Anyway, 5:15. They run undefeated at the Gabba this year, so you can't back against them. Their firepower, they've got more firepower than what Carlton have got, given that, as I said, McKay, who we don't know whether he's going to play, they get Martin back, Curnow, a few of those other nippy little forwards, the serial Owies. They've got guys like that. Well, he could have a cereal named after him, Owies.
I was just trying to work out what that actually meant, but
So who do I pick? So
Yes.
I think Brisbane.
Yep.
I think Brisbane. And sorry.
There's another game between Collingwood and GWS as
Yeah,
well.
I was about to say. I said sorry.
Oh, okay. Yep.
I think this could be an upset.
Tipping the Giants. Well, they did beat them in a prelim a couple of years ago.
And they were the underdog in that as well. Imagine, so all those people out there have gone early with their tickets.
Yes.
And it could be, imagine if it was Carlton Collingwood.
Huge.
This
It could be the complete. It could be
the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So we're talking the biggest, by the way, big grand final no matter what. But there'll be a few in Melbourne trying to get rid of their tickets if it's Brisbane and GWS.
Good on Brisbane.
And if they are, I'll purchase them because I reckon that'd be an unbelievable grand final as well. Great if you make the grand final. It's gonna
Yeah,
be huge.
it would, but it wouldn't hold. Like, good on them if they make.
There you go.
It
So
wouldn't
I'm
hold that
tipping
same
one.
interest.
So I'm tipping a favourite.
Yep.
And then I'm tipping an underdog.
So
Sorry.
you're not just a favourite.
And I can't. You know what? And I can't wait until this time next week. If Collingwood get up to get the barrage of attack that I will get if they do get up, including all the Collingwood people that I know out there, Frenchie and everyone else that barrack for the Pies and Rombo and Vinny and all of these blokes are all Pies and they're banking. You know what? They're actually not. They're not only barracking for the Pies, they're banking on the Pies.
Oh, they're invested.
Well, you think about all of the commercial dollars
Oh, yes.
that go into it at the MCG and all the boxes and everything else and what they sell for if Collingwood are in comparison to what they'll sell for if they're not in. So there's a lot of barracking and banking this weekend.
What I will say about this Collingwood playing group, and this came up last year, that they are a more likeable playing group for a Collingwood team. But the thing that stops me wanting Collingwood to win is still their supporters. You just I got a lot of Collingwood mates.
You've got to love support.
I got a lot of Collingwood mates. I just can't hack them.
I love the Collingwood supporters. I think
Generally
there's just the passion and enthusiasm that
I'm talking about the ones I know.
They've taken them to the edge of their seat. Now remember what I said during the year. I said to all of my Collingwood, I said, "Yep, okay, you're going to finish on top." All of that. I said, unfortunately, those close wins, might come back to bite you. They lost a prelim last year by a point or two, was it, against Sydney? It was by a little bit.
Yep.
And, imagine if they lost by less than a kick again in a prelim. But anyway, so my tip is Brisbane GWS Grand Final.
Gee whiz.
You heard it here first.
Did you catch much of the AFLW on the weekend?
Isn't it? You know what? It's a real shame because I did, to answer your question. And the AFL women's competition has improved immensely. It really has. And some of the skills, you look at some of the highlights, some of the marks, some of the goals, the distance in their kicking, just all-round skills. The scoring is a lot higher. So there's so much more to love about the AFL women's game now. And I have been across it. What's really sad is that I don't think no one's watching. Terrible scheduling to have it on during this time while you've got
So they've shifted it from the summer to this time to try and align it a little bit more.
It's horrendous.
Okay, you don't like it.
It's horrendous because it's just been insignificant. And I don't think enough people are watching it. And like I said, they should be because of the skills that they've got on show. So really, really poor. I know there's only a couple of weeks to go and then they'll have a bit of clear air, but it's a shame.
So when would you start it? You'd wait to the end of the AFL?
I'd wait to the end of the AFL men's season, no doubt. So, but in saying that, well done because no doubt the game has definitely changed. While we're on grand final week, and I get a little bit excited about grand final for a lot of reasons, and that's obviously the game. But the Royal Melbourne Show is back. We haven't had it since COVID. You've got a bit of Royal Melbourne Show, a bit of show bag about you. You're full of, you know what? It's back. I don't know whether you like it, but
I've never been to the Royal Melbourne Show. There you go.
When Ella's 17, turning 18, I've always taken her to the show. Used to take her and a couple of friends and get around there. I remember taking Charlotte when she was little. Carter obviously hasn't gone yet, so I'll take him along. I love getting around there and, looking at all the different rides that they got, and, you shoot a few ducks, you shoot a few hoops, you like all the different little things you've got. You go down the slide. The kids don't go on go on the ghost train. You'd be petrified of the ghost train.
Oh, yeah, no, absolutely.
But I really like the Royal Melbourne Show. And then to top it all off,
Show bag.
you've got 3 kids, you go and buy some show bags. Right?
What do you go for?
You got the Snakes Alive. You got the Barbie one will be a big seller this year, I assume. There'll be lots of Barbie, stuff. But you got your Freddo Frogs, you got your Redskin, you got all the different. So you end up buying about 30 show bags for the 3 kids.
They're a bit expensive now, aren't they? What are they worth?
Well, this is what I was about to say. You take 3 kids, you're spending $1,000.
$1,000 at the show.
That's what you would spend for 3 or 4 kids. No, the rides are about $20 a pop. When I was a kid, they were about
to go on one ride. Yeah,
about $20 a pop. Or the bigger rides.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm going to go. I'm not sure whether I'll go on the opening day, which is this Thursday, or I have got a bit of a spare day in grand final week, so I might try to squeeze it in there. But it all depends. You don't want it on the real busy. Real busy, because it gets absolutely chockers.
Has Carter been before?
No.
Okay.
No. So looking forward to taking him to the Royal Melbourne Show. It is a big thing. And the reason why I bring it up, because I think everyone should support it. We haven't had it for a little while. I don't know. Did we have it last year? I'm not sure. Anyway,
I'm not sure.
I didn't go. Well, I didn't go last year. And then we had COVID the years before that. I definitely went the year before COVID. So looking forward to going to the show again.
Now, we've got a whole lot of feedback from the last we had 2 episodes last week. We spoke at length about Brayden Maynard and that situation. We happy in the end with how that went?
I'm happy that he's playing, yeah.
Yep. So a lot of the feedback actually agreed with you, even some Collingwood supporters. Duck, I agree with you. Maynard should get a week, and I'm a Pies fan. Fairness and consistency in the AFL rules and decisions is all us fans ask for, and that was a big point of yours last week. So obviously a week was not possible as part of the matrix, but you felt that was fair. It seems quite a few of our listeners agreed, but as you said, in the end, happy that he got off.
Well, they'll invariably make some sort of change for next year in and around this exact thing. But I'm glad that he's playing in the granny. You want the best players playing, and he will. What a matchup that'll be. Maynard on Toby Greene.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe neither will play in the grand final if those two are playing on one another.
They'll be winding each other up.
That'll be a fiery little encounter, that one.
I just love watching Toby. He was winding someone else up again on the weekend. You just wonder sometimes what he's saying out in the ground.
That was the ruckman.
Yeah. I wonder what he's saying.
He doesn't pick on someone his own size. He always goes to the bigger boys.
Righto. Just let me keep going down in our questions here. I normally have them written down, but I'm a little bit disorganized.
You are dusty again.
No.
3 weeks in a row.
Yeah, I know. I've let myself down. I'm not a Sunday specialist, but for whatever reason, all my social events have been on Sundays. There were 2 of my team. It was a dress up yesterday, actually, Silly Sunday down at Yarraville. 2 of my teammates sort of dedicated their kits to you and I. One dressed up as you. He was actually as a duck. And another guy was wearing a bit of Truth Hurts.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it said he's Anton.
I like it.
So making waves down at Yarraville, duck. So I don't know if you would have been too impressed with the duck outfit itself, but it was dedicated to you. And there are some big North Melbourne fans down there actually. Possums we spoke about last week. This is from Skills. Got owned the possum straight away. Juddy went from hair to bald straight away because you could tell he was receding. Just went bang and won another Brownlow.
Yep. Got
some feedback.
Harry Ablett Jr. did the same.
He absolutely did. Got some feedback on my own here, actually. This is from Rumpa. His name's too long. I'm not reading it out. Ayrton, in the words of men's self-improvement author and content creator Rich Cooper, shave that shit off. Bald is the way to go. Grow that beard and get to the gym. No hats indoors.
Oh, I like him. Read his name out. That's
his handle. It's too long. I can't read it. The there was one other question that I really wanted to ask you. It was about draft picks, actually. Let me just scroll through our long list of questions here. It was about priority picks. One of our listeners suggested that intervention should be sooner and greater. So I guess this is a question around North Melbourne at the moment. Yep. So dear Wayne and Anton, if you could look at this question my brother has raised. I know that priority picks have been associated with tanking in the past, but I think this prolonged having teams at the bottom, it's not good for the competition. Intervention should be sooner and greater. So do you...
I'll tell you what, I've needed intervention sooner rather than later a couple of times. No, I think there's got to be sustained failure for you to get that. There's already an uproar about, getting an advantage. Melbourne got it. Heaps of teams that have finished down the bottom have got it. So I'm not sure why there's an uproar. Just while we're on North Melbourne, and I think they will get some sort of priority somehow, how that works and what pick it is, and, whether they lose Ben McKay and all of that sort of stuff, that'll come out in the wash. Harry Shekel in his first year of footy won the North Melbourne Best and Fairest. So huge effort.
But
huge effort.
Why are you smiling?
Well, no, it is, but it
yes.
does show you
a bit.
It does show you the improvement that this club has to make.
Yes.
That your first year player wins the B&F. Taron Thomas.
Yeah, it's a crazy stat.
Did not play until round 12 and came sixth. This is like, how does that happen? That once again tells you how, I guess, poor a season they had. And the big fella Larky came runner-up. Congratulations to him. Amazing effort to kick 70-plus goals, in a side that struggled like they did. So, and for that to be runner-up to a first-year player, I was surprised by. I thought Big Larky might take it out given the position he plays, and he's not just running off a halfback flank. Well,
just on Harry Shekel and his positioning, so Nick Dacos made a part transition to the midfield this year, and maybe similar stats in Harry Shekel in terms of what he's done off halfback. Did play some mid-time. He was a half forward or a forward pocket even in his junior days. Where would you like to see him play his footy next year?
Oh, invariably, the way he uses the footy, you'd want to see him centre forward because he's just such a beautiful user. So you want him kicking the ball inside 50 because he just uses it so well. So for me, but well done, great effort, but a surprising top 10 for me. When you look through the players that made the top 10 and you look through the years that they had.
Room for improvement.
Big room for improvement by the Kangas. No question about that. Before we do tune off, I clicked on, remembering it's Monday right now, and the AFL ticketing system, when you've played over 300. Now, for all those that say, oh, well, you never played 300, you played 272. Well, I'm in the 300 club. I'm an AFL Live member. I clicked on to the ticketing system from the AFL at 9 o'clock on the dot. And it said in that game, and so the AFL award winners, 9 a.m. on the dot, right, for the Brisbane Carlton game. And it said the ticketing prices haven't been set yet, so you couldn't get the ticket. So I kept logging in. Then by 9:04, all tickets exhausted. So
you've been dudded, you reckon?
Well,
how are they still
going
setting
to be a formal complaint?
How are they still setting the prices when you don't pay for your tickets, do you?
No, you don't pay for them when you're an AFL Life member legend. I'm joking. But of course, no. Well, so I'm an AFL Life member.
Yes,
because of that. So the 300. By the way, the 300 games, for those that don't know, there's state games, Australia games, and preseason games all added up. So that's why I'm in that position. So I am in the 300 club. But the fact that I get an email back saying several hundred seats were allocated to award winners' tickets exhausted by 9:06. So I got on at 9:01. I got on at 9 o'clock, not even 9:01. And their system was shithouse, right? So I couldn't obviously get the tickets. So they said, you've now been placed on a waiting list. Well, that is crap. So for all the other award winners that have missed out.
I bet you Lee Matthews got tickets. He would have got tickets.
We'll Well, if you didn't log in at before 9:06.
Sometimes you got to press refresh, mate. It doesn't
Mate,
always happen straight away.
How many times? And I assume there's I assume there's a profile to show what time I did go on and see how many times I did exactly what you just said, and them say that they weren't available. So I'm having a whinge, and I'll be having a whinge.
As much as I have great sympathy for you, I'm not sure that many of our listeners are going to be too bothered by you missing out on your free tickets to teams you don't even support.
Well, I'm going up to Brisbane, and I've got someone up there that wants to go. So I was going to take them, and because I know that those tickets are there, they're saying, oh well, a few hundred people. Well, come on. They got to be, and their system is the reason why I didn't get them, not because I was on before 9:06.
I'm actually on the Gold Coast this week too. We can get together. Yeah.
What are you doing up there? You're on the drink again.
I don't think
is it your footy? Don't tell me you're going on a reserve grade footy trip.
No, it's not a footy trip now.
Are you?
I'm not going on the footy.
Are you going?
No, I'm not going on the footy trip.
I don't think you deserve.
No, I'm not going on the footy trip.
You know what? For all those people out there, there's times when, like for instance, Mad Monday. There's times you just don't deserve a Mad Monday. I'm not sure you did. You've had 3 now. The other thing, if you've not performed as highly as what you should have and gone as far as what you should have, you probably don't deserve a footy trip either.
Yep.
And you've
I'm not going on the footy trip.
You've taken it all too far. So what are you doing on the Gold Coast?
I'm going up to. I've got some mates up there. I'm going to host a function up there. So yes, Bond University, their presentation night. So I'll do that. But then I know that my mates will want to go on with things. But I'm just.
Did you go to uni?
No, I did not up there.
I went through uni.
No, you didn't.
I did so in a stolen car. It's an old gag. It's an old gag. I think Dougie Hawkins used to use that gag. He went through uni in a stolen car, through.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, yeah.
Okay.
You don't get hangovers, do you? We've spoken about this.
No, it's an issue.
It's
a problem.
I don't
People think it's a strength.
I don't think I can put my body through what I can't keep doing it.
People often, and those closest to me say they get quite annoyed that I don't get hangovers, and everyone thinks that it's a great strength. It's not. It's because you don't get put off. You just go. And so unlike you that pulls up like a shaggy old cat, for all those cat lovers out there, sorry. But
sleep's a big factor for me. I mean,
I rang you this morning. I'm down here walking the streets of Lygon, and you're not even out of bed. You're brushing your teeth, which is a good thing. At least you do that. But you've got to get out of bed early.
Well, mate. Not to ring me before 9.
It's those sloppy.
Sloppy.
Well, it is sloppy. Getting out of bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. You know what it is? It's getting yourself into a sloppy routine that you've got to get yourself out of.
You go to bed early. You go to bed early.
I reckon it's next to your bed. If you'd have an empty Coke can. Have you?
No, don't be stupid. I don't drink Coke cans.
And a plate with crumbs all over it.
Maybe a rum can.
Like a bit of carrot cake, still half-eaten carrot cake, or so. Am I picturing you? Oh
no, that's not what I'm like at all.
Jar of Vaseline for your eyebrows.
Oh, Jesus.
Tuck them back in.
I was going to say, where are you going with that, mate?
No, but I could just picture your bedside table.
No, very clean. Because when you got a party, you got to keep your personal space.
Okay.
No, it hasn't been very enjoyable, but no, it's been great to see you again today, Duck. Next week, I keep saying this. Next week, no, I was good last week, wasn't I? I was all right. Last week you're okay. You're dusty again, but just to go over. So I am tipping an upset. I'm going with, I think GWS can upset the Pies. And I think that Brisbane will beat the Blues, unfortunately, for the Blues supporters. So it's not a grand final that everyone's going to hope for. Might be wrong. I've been wrong twice this year. We're going to hold you to account. We'll see you again soon on The Truth Hurts.
You can either take the red pill. You'll wake up. Everything was a dream. Or you can take the black pill. You can get torched.
Well, I suppose getting torched won't hurt that much. I don't feel anything.
Wait for it.
Oh, wait. I just got a new client.
Get torched! Get torched! Get torched!